and welcome to another video. So I know I said that the next video in my Stephen King installment was going to be for The Stand, but this is going to be kind of like a little interlude. Anyways, so the reasoning for this episode is like there's kind of a whole story behind it. I can't remember exactly what I was doing, but I was looking up Stephen King on Wikipedia and I was looking up through his children and seeing what kind of work they've been doing, because he does a lot of works with his kids, specifically his two sons, Owen and Joe Hill. Joe Hill has done a ton of things. One of his most famous ones that I know of is Horns. He also did the Locke and Key, I believe they're graphic novels or comic books or something that was the show is based off of. One of his sons did Dr. Sleep, I believe. I don't know. But I also discovered that a lot of Joe Hill's works have been confirmed that they are in the same universe slash multiverse slash worlds, whatever, that the Dark Tower series is, which expands our Dark Tower series reading journey from like 60 books to like more. I don't know. I didn't do exactly all of the research to know how many books are going to get added onto the end of this list. After I read all of the books on this journey, I do want to read some of Joe Hill's books and see how they work in the multiverse. But this video specifically is going to be about two of his comic books. The first one is going to be the first volume in the Locke and Key series. I believe there's 6 volumes in this series. I have the first one from the library, so I'm going to be reading that one. I'm kind of excited about this one because I heard about it a lot, like through the past couple of years I've heard about it. They have a TV show, but I never wanted to watch it because it looked kind of childish and looked kind of silly and I just wasn't into it. But I read the description for the comic books and it's dark, and that's right up my alley. So the synopsis starts with somebody breaking into this family house and killing, I believe, the father. And then it's the children and the mother have to figure out how to live in this house, and there's magic, and I don't know, but I'm so excited to read it. And then the second book I ordered on Amazon, this is called Basketful of Heads. I can't remember the name of the collection of comic books he has. He like acquired this collection of comic books, and there's 6 of them, or 5 or 6 of them, and they're called like Hill Horror something. Hill House Horror Comics, Hill Horror Comics, I can't remember. But anyways, so one of the books, I believe it's the second one, is called Basketful of Heads. It's unclear if he actually wrote this one. I don't know exactly. I know that one of the other ones I was looking at, The Dollhouse Family, was not written by him. It was just like acquired by him for this series. I don't know for sure if the second one is written by him, but it has his name on it more than it has his name on the other ones, if that makes sense. So I ordered that one on Amazon and it's supposed to come in today, and I'm very excited to read that one too. So I'll update you when I get into it. Okay, so I haven't actually started any of the books yet, but look what just came in the mail. So I figured I would like unbox it on camera and then we'll see how beautiful it is, and then I'll start reading. Oh, wow. Okay, it is called Hill House Comics. Oh, I'm so excited. I don't normally get hardcover books, and I don't usually get brand new books either, but this was on a sale. It was like 50% off, so I got it. Wow, this is kind of really cool looking. Oh, look at that. I read somewhere that the heads that she cuts off can like still talk and stuff. Oh. Oh, I'm so happy I got the hardcover. Look at this. So the sleeve is like this weird, almost like see-through, I don't know if you can see, like see-through material. And it looks like this. But the book underneath it is so cool. This is the back. Oh, I'm so excited to read this. Oh, it's all in color too. Oh, cool. Look at this. Oh, I'm so excited to read this. Also, I didn't mention it before, but this is a DC comic. It's a Black Label, I believe, if that means anything. I don't know what that means. Just look at this. I'm so excited. I'm gonna start this right now. Okay, my hair's a little bit wet because I just took a shower, but I wanted to do an update. I know I said I was gonna start this like as soon as I got it, but I didn't. I ended up reading Locke and Key, and I'm so happy that I did. That book was so good. So good, 5 stars. Would recommend. So while I kind of get into my review about this, I'm gonna put up some screenshots from it since I can't really like show you the physical book, and you can kind of see some of the pictures that I thought were like really noteworthy. Just a small warning though, they are kind of graphic, so I don't know, if you don't want to see anything graphic, maybe just don't look. Anyways, so this book is about what I told you it was about earlier. So it's about this family where these two teenagers break in and kill the father right in front of like the mother and the kids and stuff. It's a lot more violent than that, but I'm trying to keep it like a little bit lower. One of the teenagers ends up getting killed and the other one gets really injured, but he gets sent to, I can't remember what they called it. It's like some kind of juvenile detention. So the family moves in with the father's brother, Duncan, in Key House in Lovecraft City that's in Massachusetts. I love the naming of everything. Like, I've never heard of Lovecraft City in Massachusetts. I don't know if it's a real thing, but if it is, like, that's awesome that they picked that city on top of it being like called Key House. And it just, this is like the Hill House comics, which reminds me of, you know, the original Hill House. I love it. Anyways, so the family moves into this house and they kind of say that, oh, the house didn't choose the father originally, it chose the father's brother Duncan. And you're kind of like, why is a house choosing people? Like, that's not a thing. It's because the house has magic and the house has personality, kind of. We kind of get little teeny tiny little hints of personality, but I imagine it's gonna have a lot more of it in the later volumes. So once we get to this new house, all of the kids are kind of dealing with their PTSD and trying to work through that trauma that they experienced. And it is dark and we get to see how each of them copes. And they each cope in their own different way. And it's kind of like powerful to see how they do it. And it's sad at the same time because one of the kids is only like 10 years old or something. So I'm only gonna say one more thing about the story because I don't want to give it away. I don't want this to have spoilers in it. Bodhi finds a key and he puts this key into one of the doors, and when he walks through the door, his like soul leaves his body and his body's just left kind of like, looks dead, honestly, on the ground, while his soul is like a ghost and just kind of like floats around and goes and does stuff and can go anywhere he wants, and he can listen in to people just by like thinking of people, he just like teleports there. It's like really cool, and I'm excited to see how much more goes on with that. And I know that's only one of the keys, and they mentioned two of the other keys. Like one of the keys is, I think it's called an anywhere key, and it can like when you unlock the door, you can go anywhere that you want to go, like as long as you have a clear enough picture in your head. But anyways, so back to the key where you like turn into a ghost. I don't really know what this key is called. I don't know if I just missed it or if they just didn't say what it's called. But anyways, so Bodhi experiences this and he wants to tell the rest of his, you know, family, be like, you know, come watch, you can play ghost. And they're all like, whatever, it's just a coping mechanism, and they just completely ignore him. Which, I mean, I get it because like they're angsty teens and they're dealing with the death of their father and they just dismiss him. So overall, I think that this book is a very good introduction. It's such a good way to get to know each of these characters and see some of their personalities and know kind of how they act and why they act that way. And we get to learn a little bit of the magic of the house, and we're introduced to a lot of characters, and there's a lot of like storylines happening at once. It's just so good and it's so fast paced, and I immediately wanted to read the next one as soon as I finished this one. But of course, my library only has the first one. Anyways, 5 stars, would recommend. Really looking forward to reading the rest of the series and more in that world. And honestly, I'm glad I didn't watch the TV show because I feel like some things would get ruined. I don't know. I mean, if you watch the TV show and you also read the comics, like let me know in the comments and tell me if it's worth it to watch it. I don't know, I'm like still on the fence about it. Anyways, so next up is Basketful of Heads. I'm really excited to start this. All right, so this was so good. 5 stars, would recommend. I sat down to read this and I finished it in that one sitting. It was just so good. So it has these 80s horror movie vibes, and it's just, I love that. Like those are some of my favorite movies, is 80 horror movies. And because of this, like this vibe, and it just continues throughout the book and the story is just so good, I can see myself rereading this like every spooky season. So before I get into the synopsis of this, I just want to say I did a little bit more research on the Hill House comics, and some of the stuff I said earlier was wrong. The Hill House comics is 5 comics, and they're each vastly different stories. They're just kind of collected into this one series. And Joe Hill curated the whole series, but he also wrote the first book and the 5th book. So this was actually the first book, not the second, like I originally thought. And then the 5th book, I believe, is called Purge, and that was also written by Joe Hill. The 3 books in the middle are written by different authors and have different illustrators. Okay, now into the synopsis. So the story starts off with June, and she's visiting her boyfriend on this island where he's a summertime cop intern thing. Like he hasn't graduated college yet, so he doesn't work full-time, just a summer job. So then there were 4 prisoners that escaped. The chief of police says that they're not harmful, but he still wants June and her boyfriend Liam to go to his house and kind of just like keep an eye on his wife, just in case. So while they're at her house, somebody in the police force ends up dying. The mother and the son that are still there go and see what they could do to help and just to kind of alert the family and stuff. So now it's just June and Liam in this house. And then the convicts break in, and this is where the story really starts. From here, it's so fast-paced and it's just so thrilling. Like, this is a thriller. So the convicts, they take Liam and they're positive that Liam has something or knows where something is that they want. And June is doing her very best to stay alive and find Liam and save his life. While she's trying to find Liam, she finds all about this town, and there's just so many levels of deception, and there's so many lies, and there's just truth after lie after truth. Most of it's just lies though. Oh, I guess one important thing to add to the list is at the chief of police house, he has this like Nordic artifact collection, and one of these things is a giant axe, which is, I mean, it's a little bit bloody here, but let me see if I can find a better picture. So here's the axe while it's still on display before there's any blood on it. She ends up taking this axe to protect herself. And what's really cool about this axe is when she ends up, I guess it's not really a spoiler because it's the name of the title. So she ends up using this axe to cut off people's heads. These heads are like, they're still alive somehow. So like their bodies they're gone, they're dead. But the heads can still talk and they like freak out, and it's just, I feel like a psychopath smiling about this, but like it's so entertaining and it's like unlike anything I've ever read before. I love this so much, like with the old horror movie vibes and the level of realism here, but also like, you know, fantastical because these types of axes don't exist. And it honestly was unlike something I've ever read before, and the pacing is just so good. It's so fast, and like I loved it. I loved so much of it. Even the art style is kind of reminiscent of older comics. Like it kind of gives me Archie vibes. Like this is in the beginning and it just like, it feels like an Archie comic. just based off of the art style, nothing to do with the story, reminds me of an Archie comic. I just wish that there was more in this series because I would love to read more about June and more about this axe, even if it continues on the story with completely different characters, but still with the axe. Like the axe is so interesting and so unique. I would love to see it carried on through a different story. But yeah, so I think that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.